So, today, we are going to be talking about a rather mysterious, elegant, majestic ego who appears fleetingly in the canonical scriptures and seems to disappear. His name is Melchizedek, which literally means my king is good or my king is righteousness. He was first introduced to us in the book of Genesis chapter 14 verse 7, when he's introduced as the of Salem and chief priest of God who meets Abraham. When Abraham was coming back from his war with the Mesopotamian kings that had held his nephew, Lot, captive, having freed Lot and defeated the Mesopotamian kings, he met Melchizedek on his way back, and Melchizedek, who at the time was also the king of Salem, blessed Abraham, and in return Abraham gave him 10% of all the spoils of war that he had. As that time Melchizedek was already 463 years, while Abraham was 73 years. He is also mentioned in the book of Psalms, chapter 70 verse 2, where he is described as the king Salem. Then he reappears in the several verses in the book of Hebrews chapter 7, where Jesus is described as a high priest in the order of what he said in Melchizedek. In this book of Hebrew, he is described as a mysterious man without genealogy, because nobody can trace his genealogy without mother and without father. So that is the only thing we know about Melchizedek in the canonical scriptures of the Bible. To know more about Melchizedek, we have to go to non-canonical sources, because it will appear that the author of the book of Hebrews was quoting directly from the second book of Enoch, which is a Gnostic gospel and is non-canonical. Melchizedek also appears in the Talmud. He also appears in the Nag Hammadi library. He appears in the Qumran school, and he also appears in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, we're going to use information from all this non-canonical sources so we can learn more about who Melchizedek was. Melchizedek was described as looking like an ordinary old man who beneath his tunic, he wears a golden bracelet that is bright as the sun and is covered with many shiny gems. So, you can imagine a wizened old man wearing a breastplate of gold, which has a lot of gems embedded in it. So, you can imagine what Melchizedek looked like. Even though we are not told about his birth, but in the first and second book of Enoch, his birth was recorded. Now he was to have been born before the great flood of Noah, as at that time, Enoch, who was the second child priest of God after Adam, had been taken up to heaven, and the mantle of priesthood had fallen on Ner, who was the younger brother of Noah. Now Ner had a wife called Sutanam, or Saphanim, depending on the authorities that were talking about her. Now Sutanam was the wife of Ner, and were married for many years, and did not have children. She was barren, and in her old age God decided to give her a child, and this child was delivered to her by immaculate conception. She didn't meet any man before she was conceived by God. This story, which was reminiscent of the Mary story. When this happened, Ner was highly scandalized, and he didn't know what to do with his wife Saphanim. So he hid her away for 9 months, and as the time of her delivering a child, he called her and decided that he was going to banish her far away so that people would not know. So when she called Saphanim to him and addressed her as a disgrace, and called by all the invectives he could pour on her, Saphanim started lamenting her innocence, and told Ner that no man had touched her. So as she was still speaking, she fell down at the feet of Ner and died. So Ner, having found that his wife had died, rushed to his senior brother Noah to help him bury her in secret so that nobody will know. But to their surprise, when they came back to the body of Saphanim, they saw a young child sitting by her body, fully dressed and singing the praise of the Lord. It was then that they realized that the divine nature of what had happened, and that they rehabilitated the image of Saphanim and gave her a respectful and honorable burial. So Ner took care of the child for some time until God informed them that there was going to be great flood, which intended to bring upon the world, so as to wipe out the wickedness on earth. And he said that apart from Noah's children, who saved in the ark, the only other person that will survive will be Melchizedek, and that Melchizedek was going to be his chief priest after the flood. And so just before the flood, God sent angel Gabriel and some scriptures, and angel Michael and others, to take Melchizedek on his wing and take him to the Garden of Eden, where he stayed until after the flood before he came out. So that is the story of Melchizedek in short, and he lived so long after the flood, because as at the time of Abraham was already 463 years. So, what are people saying about Melchizedek? Now some people say that Melchizedek is an incarnate of Christ, that he is a Christophany, that Jesus Christ appears in human form into generations. He has appeared sand in one of his earthly forms is Melchizedek. Other people say that Melchizedek is an angelic figure. In fact, some people said he is actually Angel Michael, so why is Melchizedek means king of righteousness? Other scriptures still believe that Melchizedek was Shem. Shem was the one of the sons of Noah. So it is believed that when Noah came out from the ark, Shem was made chief priest of the Most High and his name changed to Melchizedek. Others still believe that Melchizedek is an ancient king of Jerusalem who ruled at contemporaneous time with Abraham, and just like Abraham and Job, who lived in the pre-Israelite era. He was also a worshipper of one God called El. Now this is to be differentiated from Adonai-Zedek. Now it appears that Zedek was the title of the king of Jerusalem in those days, and Melchizedek was there as one of the earlier rulers, and 600 years later, during the conquest of Canaan. The king of Jerusalem at that time was Adonai-Zedek, and it's said that Joshua put him to death along with other 5 Canaanite kings that he found in the Promised Land. So that is all that we can glean about Melchizedek from both canonical and non-canonical structures, and the research about him continues. Thank you very much. Please subscribe.